My name is Hyo Jung Kim. I'm a member of the OC Inc. board, and it is my honor to introduce the recipient of the 2019 Everett Parker Award. Each year, we present the Parker Award to an individual whose work embodies the principles and values of the public interest in telecommunications and the media, the way that our late founder did. Cayden Mak is Executive Director of 18 Million Rising and is this year's recipient. In recognition of his work to create meeting places online for people of color with multiple identities. 18 Million Rising builds identity, belonging, and community power online in Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. Cayden originally served as Chief Technology Officer of 18 Million Rising and led the team that created VoterVox, a tool designed to help locate volunteer translation services for voters with limited proficiency in English. In addition, Cayden was a co-founder of Youngest.org, New York Students Rising, and an officer and staff organizer for the Communications Workers of America. Cayden is such a great leader because he is able to merge his knowledge of technology and culture and to make profound impact on the world around him. Cayden navigates online space and offline space and is someone that everyone just loves to be around. When someone is truly on the ground among their community and is able to imagine and wield technology in a sophisticated way, it really shows. Cayden is that person. I am honored to present Cayden Mak with this year's Everett Parker Award.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Kim. Before I get started, thank you to the United Church of Christ, OC Inc., for hosting and for this great award. Also, I would be remiss not to thank my team and our allies in the fight because while this is an award for me, none of my work happens by myself. In particular, Laura Lee, our campaigner, is here today, and she's been holding a lot of our media justice policy work for the past several years. And the rest of my team is distributed across the country, so they couldn't be here today. As Reverend Kim mentioned, I've been at 18 Million Rising for a number of years, 7 actually, which is wild to be a millennial and be at the same organization for 7 years. But for the past 4 or 5 years, I've been in executive leadership, and I mean, I don't need to be the first person to tell you that the past 4 years have been a trip. But they've been a trip for me both personally and professionally, right? One of the things that being called about this award has sort of led me to do is to really think about the past 4 or 5 years of our work, really starting with our advocacy for a free and open internet. When we were founded, we were doing all of this online advocacy work, and it had occurred to us in 2014 that it was necessary for us to engage with media policy, because if there was no free and open internet, could we even do our work? The answer is probably no. Since then, our efforts have expanded to include building and designing tools that are in principled partnership with our community, like VoterVox and an upcoming major project with Common Cause to work on community-based redistricting. Our growth from a scrappy startup to an anchor and really critical infrastructure in Asian American movements online has been driven not just by my vision, but really the vision of our team and our community. Nevertheless, receiving this award really made me start thinking about the work that we have yet to do. The story of my work in media justice is a really long one, and when she called me about this award, Cheryl mentioned that she still goes back to this speech that I gave in Brooklyn, I think this was in 2014 even, where I talked about how the internet raised me. And probably a lot of you have heard this story about how the internet saved my life. And I don't think I'm the only one who feels this way, right? I grew up feeling really isolated and weird, and the internet was the first place that I found real belonging, found other people who were like me, and then also the guidance of like older, wiser queer people who were like, it might not get better, but it does get different. And really, like, that story, that sort of foundational story, has guided me back over the past couple of years, 2 years or so, to thinking not just about the internet in terms of ideas, but the internet in terms of feelings. Something has been bothering me really since the beginning of our last election cycle, and really before, because it's with the rise of big social media companies whose business models rely heavily on our attention as the product that they sell to advertisers, the social web has honestly become a lot less social. I worry that this is a symptom of really a bigger problem. As the world around us is reordered by money and technology that was not designed with the interests of community in mind, we find ourselves in a paradoxical isolation that both brings the world closer to us while keeping us neatly contained and alone. What does it mean to be rooted and in genuine relationship with others in a world like ours? Following these threads to understand how politics works on the internet has led me to think about the feeling of belonging. Before there's ideology, there is the search for the feeling of belonging. And ideology is how we make sense of the lack of belonging, right? And also of the path that we take towards community. The search for belonging, I think, is deeply and fundamentally human, and it looks different across times and places, but at its core, what I think it is an understanding that only in relation with one another can we survive and thrive. My own search for belonging has led me here. If you know me, you know that I don't simply believe technology left to grow on its own will get us there. I believe that the work is really making sure that that technology serves the people. I believe that another internet, therefore, is possible. I believe that we can have one that is built, designed, owned, and stewarded by the people who use it and who rely on it to bring them their world. I believe that we can have an internet that's built on care, principled struggle, and a vision of belonging that's expansive, not just expensive. As we turn toward the future, I know that we have our work cut out for us. We're called to use every tool at our disposal in what is ultimately a huge struggle against the rising tide of global fascism and a climate apocalypse. No big deal. However, I also know that so long as an us exists, and as long as we will that us to exist, we have a shot at success. As once I was invited unsuspecting to imagine myself as part of an us that I didn't even know existed, let us invite one another into a movement to be an us, and to make the places our folks need, both online and off. Thank you for this incredible honor, and I'm really proud to consider so many of you peers and comrades in this struggle. I could think of no better work to do with my life. Thank you so much.